is cleared for takeoff.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Twitch channel and to our December developer stream. We're now 2 weeks post-launch of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. My name is Jayne. I am the Senior Community Manager for the sim. With me today, we have our regular panel of leadership here. We have Jorg Neumann, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Jorg, welcome back. We also have Sebastian Wloch, Asobo CEO. Welcome, Seb.
Hello.
And we have Marcel Bossard, Asobo executive producer. Welcome back, Marcel.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Or good afternoon or good morning. I'm sorry, it's pretty late here.
Guten Abend. I read that.
Yeah, guten Abend. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hello.
I've seen people already say they're from Germany, Vancouver, Ireland there. So all over the world, good evening, afternoon, morning to wherever you're tuning in from chat. We also have a special guest. We will introduce them, of course, a bit later. So glad everybody's here to see what's going on with our sim. I'm sure everyone's anxious to hear about the status on a lot of different items in 2024. So we will just go ahead and get started. So Jorg, can you give us an update on where the team's been at the past 2 weeks?
Yes. Hi. Thank you for joining us today. I just also want to thank you for all the encouraging emails, texts, and other contacts we had during what I think can only be described as an awful launch experience. And we, of course, saw a bunch of the frustrations and posts and videos, and we want to deeply apologize for what happened. I want to give you just a quick explanation. So as you know, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 has a client. It has a server. Actually, neither one of those was the issue at launch. Some people blamed the servers. That was actually not correct. The issue was caused by problems with the layer in between called the CDN. And for what it's worth, the CDN, so this is Content Delivery Network, is the same CDN that we used for 2020 to stream the world. But we had a ton of traffic. Somebody told me we had 100 billion packages requests on the first day, which was interesting. And the infrastructure just simply could not handle the amount of requests and started to fail. We tried to increase capacity, sort of one at a time. That was still not enough. And at the end, we really moved infrastructure, which has been working great. And it took us a few days, which really sucked to figure this all out. But now the CDNs are fine. The servers are good. And I think we have a couple of images to show what happened. Seb.
Yeah, there's actually two main CDNs which are accessed. So this one is the one showing the packages. And the interesting curve here is the curve which shows the errors that people which had the sim were getting, and pretty much they were not getting the data that was requested. So this is really a graph which goes from exactly the launch hour, a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 hours earlier. And you can see immediately a spike in the first 2-3 hours after launch. There was a huge spike on the CDN, and the CDN couldn't handle the load. Then we set up a queue, which made it basically go down to 0. The next day, we removed the queue, and basically there was a little mountain of errors. And around that time, there was the increase on capacity, so it went down to flat again without a queue or anything. And then there was again a bump, and then toward the right, I think it says Friday or something, it actually happened French time. It happened overnight. I think we switched at midnight or something, or 2 in the morning, I don't remember.
And it was in between.
Huh?
At 1, yes.
Yeah, 1 or something. And to the right, you can see it's completely flat. So that's the package CDN, which had a lot of data requests. And this one is the one which has all the world data. So that one was not too much hit at the beginning because people were mostly trying to get into the sim and load the first packages, which is like the plane you're flying and the main menu, stuff like that. But on the second day and third day, it got hit really bad. There's one big drop in the first, like there's this sort of mountainy spike, and then it really goes down to a smaller mountain. That is when they increased capacity, but it was not enough. And even with that capacity on the second day, it went really too high. And then same thing, same time, Friday morning at 1 o'clock, we switch the CDN, and then it's pretty much zero after that.
And this is what we're getting now. So these are some numbers we are getting from the new CDN, the one that have been set up on Friday morning. And so what you can see, I can't say damn thing, but what you can see below the 400 are error codes. So every time you're doing some requests, you're getting a return code. 400 and below are errors. So as you can see here, we're talking about percents. So now the stability is even higher than the 99.99 that Jorg talked about this week. So we are pretty pleased with the stability and the performances of the CDN we have now for the game, for the sim. And I think we've got another screenshot just before, and these are the servers. They have already been graying like that. So you can also see some blue things. These are the code colors for instance, for the cognitive services. It's when it uses cache rather than computing some new voices. So as you can see, everything is green. The new CDN is working, and we are pretty pleased with the new setup.
Yeah, then just I saw a question from Jayne that was, how does the bug fixing cadence look like? So as you probably know, we did 2 patches already. They were mostly targeted at stability issues, some other things with soft locks that we found in edge cases. And then there's patch 3, which is coming up next week. We don't quite know what date yet because we're going through certification, of course. So it's either the 10th or the 12th is the current plan. And that one is much bigger. We have a whole bunch of content that was worked on, like the 800 people working on the sim have obviously worked on this, so you should see something pretty substantial. And then after that, I put that here, packages, because that's one of the actually real big advantages of what we did here. Aircraft, career improvements, world improvements can be done without a sim update, so we can do those basically on the fly via the server update. So you can see don't think we're going to update just once a quarter or something. We're going to update frequently with those types of things. And as far as sim updates, we're targeting 1 a quarter. And the reason why is there's quite a bit that is on the docket that we have gotten feedback from, and we want to do flighting for these things. So we need to have stability time. We need people to look at it. So flighting will start early next year. All right.
Awesome. So we'll go on to our Q&A. I think one of the first questions, it's great that packages such as Aircraft Career and World can be updated server side now. For the community, since these aren't, like sim updates, will there be a place where they'll be able to see notes, release notes on what is actually updated on those server side updates?
I think that's on us. We need to find a way. We obviously have those change lists, and to be honest, I don't know exactly how and where we have to get them published, but we have the information, so that should be shared with you. Mm-hmm. No longer that last night we did an update for the carrier services, and I don't think that has. I think we had a communication saying that it was coming in the next minutes, but I don't think the content of it has been published. So we need to find a way.
Okay. Great. And talking about cloud streaming here, so why is there a reliance on streaming data, and what other advantages does it have?
Yeah, I'm taking this topic. So basically, it's a decision we took, I think, quite a while ago when we saw just how 2020 was growing. And it's not, it's a choice. It's really something where I would say we didn't really have a choice. The sim is getting so big that going with the 2020 way of doing things, it was just not going to fit into that system. So I asked the team who is in charge of building the sim. If you wanted to download the entirety of 2024 standard edition, right now it's 1.4 terabyte. And that's not all the satellite data, the 3 terabyte of world data. That's just what you would have installed in 2020 when you install the sim, you have the exe which downloads, and then you see a long installation once you launch the sim, and it downloads packages. That is usually 130, 150. I don't know exactly what it is today. This initial download, and which can sometimes be a bit slow because the servers, even if you have a gigabit internet, the servers may only deliver 100 megabit or 150 megabits in many cases, and that was 150 gigabytes. On 2024 just standard, it's 1.4 tera, so 1,500. That's way bigger, and I made a quick calculation. Anyone who has like a gigabit super fast internet on 2024, if we had used the 2020 technology, the first person to get into the sim just to download the packages would have taken 25 hours. That's the time it would take to just download everything, because usually the servers are 100 megabit, 150 when they deliver this kind of data. And so thanks to the streaming technology, the real impact, the real difference is you only download what you need when you need. So this basically means you can start flying before you have downloaded everything, because you only need what you need at the time you fly. So the planes you're not using, you're not downloading them in 2024. And this really increases the speed and also the amount of data you use. So we have calculated, so it's not a specific test we did, it's the average data of all the users so far over the 2 weeks. In the first 3 hours, the average use is 18 gigabytes. So that's about 5.6 per hour. So you can, if you compare that to 1.4 terabytes that you would have to needed to download just to launch the sim, it's a huge reduction. So it's really something. I don't think we would have been able to ship the sim with 25 hours minimum download to even launch it and 1.4 terabyte of disk space. So there was really no way around this, and so that's why we went into that direction. And in the end, we believe it's once the CDN works, it's a huge advantage because you launch so much faster. The updates are so much faster. The data in these packages can now be updated, and you don't even. So that's what Marcel just said. We're going to have release notes, but you don't even know the packages updates. You don't have to install, download anything when there's an update of these packages.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And from chat here, will users have the ability to download content in the future? Everything except things like ground textures, like they used to in 2020 for those who have things like monthly data caps or just poor internet speed?
Yeah, so there's really two aspects. So downloading everything for bandwidth reduction is actually the wrong way to go, because in the end, when you download everything, you always download more than with the streaming, which only downloads what you need. Even for the user playing, there maybe you will never go look very close to the left wheel, and so you will never need to download that part in the highest LOD if you have streaming. So downloading everything upfront is not a solution to reduce bandwidth, with a few exceptions. But it can be useful if you want to travel, like maybe you're in a location where you have a gigabit internet and then you want to go on vacation on a place where it's mobile. Maybe in that case, it can be useful to install permanently stuff. So right now, the recommendation for people who just want to reduce bandwidth is to use the rolling cache, make it maybe bigger. I've seen people use 128 gigabyte of rolling cache. This way, you're sure all your aircraft are in the cache. Everything the airports you use are in there. That's the most efficient way. But still, we are planning to allow users to choose for every package if they want to not have it uninstalled. So then you don't see it at all. If you want to have it streamed, which is the current default for the base sim, stream. So that this only downloads what you need when you need it and puts it into the cache, the rolling cache, or a permanent install. In that case, for example, if you always fly the same plane and you don't want to have a very big cache, like maybe you only want to have 8 or maybe no cache, then it's good to permanently install your plane because you always have it. You will not stream it again. Or maybe you always fly the same airport. Or as I said earlier, you want to go on vacation to a low bandwidth area. You can just pre-install a few aircraft and a few airports. So that's something we will make possible, which will pretty much make it the same as it used to be in 2020, except that you don't have to install the 1.4 terabytes. You can choose to do that if you want. So I don't recommend anyone install 1.4 terabyte. but maybe a few planes or a few things they always use, that could be a good thing.
Okay. And since we're on the subject of the local cache, our next question was about, is it working correctly in its current state? Or some people were mentioning that textures seem to be re-downloading often. Is there any news on that?
So currently we find on our measures that we have about an efficiency of maybe 80% on the rolling cache. So 80% of the requests are not sent out to the internet once you have it in the cache, once the cache is filled. Yes, we found issues in some cases on the textures with MIP. So MIP streaming, what we do is textures have MIP maps, so that basically a 4K texture has a 2K version, a 1K version, all the way down to 1 pixel. And very often you don't see the 4K version because you're too far. And so in that case, we only stream the MIP level you need. And in there, the team found an issue where it's not perfectly efficient. So sometimes it may re-download, restream texture MIP levels that it doesn't actually need. So that's an optimization we're going to do. And we'll continue investigating to make the rolling cache as efficient as possible. But as I said, it's already around 80% in what we saw. And yeah, hopefully the texture MIP level fix maybe we'll get to 90%. I don't know how high, but that's the idea. It's already fairly efficient.
Okay. See people talking about when we will be going over the feedback snapshot and such to talk about status of some of those items. So we'll get to that soon. All right, next question. Users have reported severe LOD popping as well as low ground textures on both PC and Xbox. Can you explain why this is happening and what's being done to improve this experience?
So here I think we have quite a few different possible causes. So the very first issue was pretty much the CDN issue we talked at the very beginning. So when the world CDN, which is the one, which is the second graph I think I showed, when this one was having blue errors, basically your sim would request the texture and the server would say, nope, you're not getting the texture. So usually you would get a blurrier version, a lower LOD. And the other server, which is the package, that's where you have maybe a airport terminal LOD or airplane. Same thing, the sim requests a LOD and a mesh, and the server says, nope, you're not getting it. So the first few days, people were having these issues were probably related to this. It is possible in some cases that users, so what is happening, the sim was asking, the server would say no, and I think there's maybe 10 or 20 retries, and then after a while the sim would say, okay, forget it, I will not get that data. And so unfortunately people over the first few days may have had a pretty much corrupt version of the local data. So that's why I think we recommended for some people to reinstall from scratch. And once this was done, there's other possible, once the CDN was fixed, there's now other possible causes. It could be just a local internet issue, maybe your router is down or whatever. It could be, so that's more for PC and Xbox. It could be, in some cases, we have extremely low frame rate, and you have enabled dynamic detail adjustment, or I don't know the name exactly in English of the option. So there's this new option in the graphics menu where you can ask the sim to target a frame rate, and it's gonna reduce detail to target the frame rate. And if you set it to a frame rate which is higher than what your computer can achieve, it's gonna just reduce detail. So in that case, just disable this option and see if it goes better. And so don't set that to like 100 or 200 or something like that, because everything, the only thing that's really gonna do is like if you're in ultra, it's gonna be the same as if you were in high, really, pretty much. So the dynamic FPS is really targeted to users who have like you turn it off, you fly, you're maybe at 60 if you want to do VR, but sometimes you're dropping to 50, then you use that. It's not useful if you're flying at 30 and you want to go up to 60 with this thing, because all it's going to do is permanently move you down one level of detail. The other thing which can happen is that's more something on console. On console, we have a limited memory. And even though we have had a lot of optimizations on 2024 for memory, eventually the console may run out of memory. It could be because of an unoptimized add-on or unoptimized asset. But it can also be just over time, right? The memory may fragment over time. And something which happens on Xbox is that you have a quick resume. When you quit the sim, it doesn't always quit the sim. It usually just sort of puts it asleep. You go do something else, and then you come back exactly at the same place. So it's really the same as if you were playing for hours. I tested myself on X. I started getting these things after the third day, and I just quit the sim and restarted, and it was pretty much fixed. Here we're investigating to find a solution to pretty much clean up pretty much the RAM after a while, so that it does the same as if you were quitting and restarting. And maybe there are other causes. So we're still investigating. It could be just a very local. If it's a specific asset, a specific airport, there can be LOD management issues or LOD missing or something like that. So there's quite a few different possible causes here.
Okay. Thank you, Seb. Will there be continued memory fixes for Xbox users, specifically those who are experiencing crashes with airliners or long flights?
So yes, there's been some fixes in the first patch, some in the second. I think that's usually the ones where it says several crash fixes. That's really just memory optimizations, because memory may crash anywhere and randomly. So there's no specific case where we can say, hey, we fixed the crash in this or this case. So there's been optimizations in both updates, and we're planning to do more. This is one of the highest priority of the team, and so we're investigating both on the code side. So what has been optimized was the way we organized mesh data in a better way in memory, so it fragments less, and so basically it holds for a much longer time and can accept bigger meshes. I know there's optimizations going on assets like airplanes or airports, which will help a lot on this area. And we're continually updating and investigating to improve this.
Okay. All right. First question we asked already. The next one, what is the status of third-party hardware default profiles, as many of them need updates?
So I can answer to that. So they will. So now the setup is stored into the packages. So it means it's completely unrelated to any executable. So you can share, create, download the packages whenever you want. So you will never have to wait for an executable update to have the benefit of a new piece of hardware if the setup is coming with it. So the packages, you can more or less distribute those packages like you would do for planes or sceneries. So it can go through the marketplace to come, or just shared by download to be copy paste in your committee folder.
Okay.
I think that's also answering the next question.
Second question. Yep. Thanks, Martial. And already seeing this in the chat here, but what is the status of the marketplace?
We can't hear you, Jorg.
Yeah.
That is what happens when I mute myself. So we just decided to wait with the marketplace until early 2025. And the reason for it is that, the marketplace is by and large for third-party creators. We want to make sure that they have time to properly test everything, make sure that there is a flag that they're going to set that is basically approved by developer before we put it in the marketplace. And just going to take a little bit more time. So, but the team has made a lot of progress, so I don't think it's a long time, but it's going to take a little bit more time. And then on the second question about you want to take this one, Martial?
Which one?
When will we have an option to disable certain packages in the My Library section?
Exactly.
So this should become soon. We're talking about the patch 3 to come in mid-December. That should be the option should be there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. All right, we are now getting into our feedback snapshot here. So go ahead, take it away.
Too bright, Seb.
Yes. So, this is actually a huge thread.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff in there, but one of it was airport lighting. I think, Martial, you told me that we fixed that in patch 3, airport lighting issue. with
Yes,
some spots.
yes. So we had some issues when the sorry, so the light was edited on the airports. Everything generic was working fine, but with the edition it was broken, and this is the part that has been fixed. So on that thread on the forums, you can see some pictures being made on, I think it's Dallas, and this part is completely fixed now. But we still have some other issue. So
Yeah, so one of it is I think it's not at all a new story. I saw a lot of sepia, so that's pretty much the issue is that and that's the same then in 2020. And in 2020 we worked quite a bit on this, is that we don't display each individual light around the globe. There is a maximum distance, I don't know, depending on the level of detail, a few dozens of kilometers, maybe 50 kilometers, whatever, at which we stop displaying street lights. I think it's first removing house lights and then bigger streets, and then the bigger they are, the further they display, but at some point we don't. And in order from a very large distance to still have this look of a city, we have a texture of illumination at night of the globe. And first of all, I don't think it always 100% matches the data of the sim, and secondly, it doesn't have perfectly the same colors. It's something we already had the issue in 2020. You don't really notice if you fly normally and you don't zoom, but as soon as you zoom, or if you don't have a very high level of detail, it's more noticeable. So I think we already did quite a lot of, I would say, tweaking and patching around of this in 2020. It never really completely solved the issue. I think the only way to fix this completely here now is to actually bake the individual night lighting into some sort of night texture of the world. That would be just like a day aerial, right? Just like we have the aerials during day, a special lighting aerial which would have a much higher resolution, be always up to date. Some system like that is the only way to completely solve it once and for all. And I think that's the next step at some point, is to fix it this way. Maybe we can have a little bit of tweaking in the meanwhile, and we will further look into the thread. So that's like one of the, I think there was 11 or 12 issues which were mentioned. And so we'll look into this further, see if we can do fine tuning. And I think the real solution will come when we can actually bake this perfectly into lighting texture worldwide.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, the next one is live weather is not separated from the date that is selected.
Yes, this is something that. So now we do have a system that is collecting weather data for 24 hours, and this is true that when you are moving the slider of the time bar, you will get the weather which is supposed to happen during these 24 hours. And there is one use case where people want to only get the current live weather, and this was not planned so far. So we heard of the community, and then we will do that options to lock the weather to the last one that we've downloaded.
Okay. All right. Next one is the mouse free look access crosstalk, where the mouse is overly sensitive when you are free looking in the cockpit. Yes.
So this has to be investigating, and we've got to spend more time on that issue.
Okay. FPS performance VRAM bug.
Yep. So this is something. So basically, when you display the frame rate performance sort of display, it's very visible. It's a line at the top. So when the GPU is asked to use more VRAM than it actually has VRAM in one frame, we need to load stuff in and out of the GPU. And this causes heavy FPS drops, like a lot. You may drop from 50 to 10, and there's no way to actually fix that. Because that's just the speed of the transfer of RAM from memory to VRAM. So the only way here is to stay below the VRAM usage. So what we display is how much VRAM total is allocated over how much the GPU has. So you can allocate a little bit more because sometimes not everything is used every frame. And so the GPU will hold up. But let's say you have a 10 gigabyte VRAM and you use 10, 11, 12, it may hold up. And after a while, maybe 13. There's a moment where, depending on the scene, depending on what you're doing, where the GPU is going to stream every frame, and that's just going to collapse FPS. So to help people identify the cause, because you can have a smaller GPU and just have super high ultra settings. We're going to display a little warning, just like when you have low bandwidth, for example. So it's going to say low VRAM, adjust graphic setting, because otherwise you will lose FPS. The biggest FPS cost is usually screen resolution, so 4K. It's when you're in ultra and you have high texture settings, and it can be sometimes specific areas. So it's also possible that there's a leak, a memory leak, or a bug, or maybe some specific asset which has issues. So if people identify a specific area or specific aircraft or something which consumes unusually large amounts of VRAM, that's obviously something, if people can report this, that's very useful. We do this on our side. We test, we optimize, we make sure there's no leaks, and we constantly optimize this. We've done an improvement. So the thing I talked about, the Xbox reduced fragmentation of vertex and meshes, that's also something which helps on PC. So it's going to reduce the usage of VRAM. But all in all, at some point, the only way for users is to either reduce slightly make sure that they stay below the VRAM, or to upgrade the GPU if they really want to go onto higher VRAM usages.
Yeah. So from what I'm reading from the chat, there's some use case that we have not detected so far. People are getting some VRAM issues with
4090.
with video cards on which you shouldn't get. So as soon as tomorrow, we will try to have some report here or to understand exactly what's going on, because obviously there's something which has not been seen neither by the engineers here or the quality assurance service that we have.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Next one is the Cessna 172 Classic electrical systems not functioning.
This is fixed. This was we had a bunch of issues on planes. This was linked to how we are reading the planes and how it's got encrypted. And this has been fixed. I think it was, I would say it was fixed during the last patch, but I'm not sure. Well, I don't know by heart the schedule that we have. Too many things, but yes, if it's not already fixed, this should be fixed very soon.
Yeah, looks like it says patch 3, which is next week.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, It goes too fast.
Okay, next one is the wind and turbulence in career mode.
Seb, you talked to Damien about this issue, right?
Yeah. This was really a career thing, and they told me it would be fixed in the next patch. Okay, non-functioning EFB in VR mode.
Yes. Well, this is linked to some other VR issue we are getting on the UI. That this is worth for some panels, and the EFB is included is part of that. I went this afternoon to talk about this issue to the team. They were currently working on that. So I don't have an ETA for all those things, but that should come very soon.
Okay. The next one is no engine or cockpit sounds and multiple 2024 instances in the audio mixer.
Yeah, we need to investigate. We saw it.
Yes.
It's there. It's with the team right now.
Mm-hmm. And we have the CTD with the Tobii eye tracker.
So the Tobii CTD was fixed, but from what I'm saying on the chat, there are also some other issues that we need to investigate.
Yeah. Cannot unselect streamed packages in my library, which I believe we talked about already with
Yes.
the option being added soon.
Mhm.
And we have flap speeds in multiple aircraft are low, causing deduction of points in career mode.
So I've seen that too. We are reading the feedbacks. It's obviously not here in every plane, so maybe it's plane rated. But yes, it's under investigation.
Okay. I think one related question to that I saw earlier was for career bugs specifically, are those going to be server side fix or are those in the EXE?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And in some of the in carrier you got a mix of everything. You can get some issues with planes, so this can be also with streaming thing. This can be also been fixed online. You get some issues on the servers that run the carrier and all the detections because all the carriers, all the missions are computed. So we are updating those missions, and we can also improve the way the mission are generated. You got some executable because obviously there's some part which is run on the client, and so you can fix and find some bugs from every single point.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Marcel. Next is control axes are not responding.
So yes, we've checked that. This is very surprising because we tried to get some repros and we didn't get any, and specifically on the hardware that was pointed out in the forum thread. So we need to collect more information. If we can get some in the forum, that would be perfect, and we will try here as much as possible to understand exactly what's going on.
Okay.
But so far we had no repro.
Okay. And the excessive amount of trees, I think this relates to the amount and also the size of the 2024 trees.
It's a mix of different issues. Like for the carrier, we know that the computation of the vegetation mask is sometimes failing, and we've got also some issues with the tree size, the thickness of trees, depending on species and biomes. So everything needs to be improved also on that part.
Okay. And the toolbar missing in VR, users having trouble either bringing it up or having it move around or stay.
This is part of what I was talking about with when I was talking about the AFB in VR.
Okay. And mouse, also in VR, issues with mouse clicking on usually stops working when they return from the menu sometimes.
Yes.
Just in the cockpit.
Yeah. So this is it seems to be related when the fact that people are switching on and off VR from 2D mode in VR. So we've got the repro. This has been pretty well explained in the forum. So thank you for this, guys. And so we will try to fix that into that bunch of VR fixes that we are planning to do soon. Great.
And H125 trim doesn't function.
Oh, this is interesting. This aircraft, this helicopter doesn't have any trim, so I was a bit surprised to read that. In Airbus, you can get some trim in the H145. Some variation of H125 have some trims, but not the one we've got in the sim so far. So not getting some trim here seems pretty normal. I don't know what to say apart from that. Okay. Not getting a trim on that specific aircraft is something expected.
Yeah. We kind of covered this already. I don't know if you have anything to add to the ground textures or blurry, LOD system too aggressive, those issues we're seeing with the popping.
So we'll talk about that. I would say that please use the forums that is already in place to explain exactly your issues. If you can give us some details like your bandwidth, your hardware, so we can really understand what's not going on. Obviously, here in all the places we're doing some tests, when you got the proper bandwidth and the proper piece of hardware, it's working. So maybe we have missed. So we need more information, guys, here. So there's the forum. please, if you
Okay.
can give us some details on how to do the repro. Once you've got the repro, it's always more easy to fix bugs, because you know that you've got the after before things, and you know that once you've done the fix, you don't see the issue anymore. When you don't have it, it's only a matter of guesses, and it's super complicated to say, okay, we've found the issue. This should not happen anymore.
Right. All right, number 18, we have the PC24 issues. There was a list really in the first forum post there.
Yeah, so it's passed our test. Just the latest version from Coronado. We think it's fixed. It's coming out with the update 3.
Great. And number 19, helicopters jumping in and out of ground effect when near raised platforms, etc.
Yeah, I will look into this one as soon as I can.
Thank you, Seb. And number 20, can't start a flight. You just get a loading circle when clicking start flight.
This is there's really two situations here. People who have seen this before Friday when we changed CDN, this was a very common symptom of the CDN problem, because you are missing an airport. Basically, you are trying to load an airport package or some piece of world, and the CDN says no, and you eventually get an infinite loading. If it happens after, for people who have people see this after Friday, after lunch, and they have reinstalled and everything is clean, then I think we need to have I think ideally more information if it's specific place, specific something, specific case. Because there's been quite a lot of testing on our side, and for example, this is a case where you cannot get through certificate because you're just pretty much blocked. It's like a crash. And so I don't think we have any of these left right now in our database. But if people have seen this after the CDN change, then please, if you have any information on how to get this 100%, then we can fix it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Seb. And these are obviously just the top 20 voted in our forums, but Jorg, I know there's a lot more bugs here than these 20. Do you have anything you want to add here?
I think look, I think Jayne sent me to the top list. We read it. We spent a bunch of time yesterday looking through all the forum threads again, and we're going to expand this list, and we're going to go back to the feedback snapshot that we always had, and that's going to come out weekly, and we'll give you updates. Yeah.
All right, and here's a look at the 2024 wish list items. Would you like to discuss any of these?
Yeah, I think the first one requires some explanation. So who wants to take it? Seb, you want to do it?
Oh, or I can. Yes, in Flight Sim 2020, we have decided not to encrypt the planes that were in the default packages. And we did this time. The very reason why we did that is because those planes are used for competitive purposes. And if you uncrypt, if you let people use the default planes being modified, then we get some cheats. So we've decided to go with full unencrypted package, but we are thinking about a solution on which we could expose some unencrypted planes, but those planes will be only available for free flight, because we also have the same issue on the carrier mode that could also, if you modify the planes by default or any other planes, it will be then be something that could damage the carrier. So we want to do that in a close future.
Cool. Thank you, Marcel.
But just to I mean, I heard from a whole bunch of plane makers that they would like unencrypted packages so they can see how it was done and all that stuff. So we are committed to doing it. Just needs a little bit of time.
Right. Okay. Now, talking about cloud streaming earlier, with the issues that did happen on day 1 and 2, there were comments on just cloud streaming in general, and people are hoping that it can be optional. I see this as partial planned. Is this what you
Yeah,
were talking
so
about, Seb, earlier?
That's what we said. Yeah.
what I explained earlier. So to reduce the amount, so we will never be able to get to zero cloud streaming because the world data is over 3 petabytes now. So there's no way to install this locally, but we can reduce the cloud streaming quite a bit. So as I explained earlier, using a bigger rolling cache. On our side, we will try to make the rolling cache more efficient, and we will add the option on the library where you manage your packages to choose to not install them. I think that was another request if you don't want to have it at all, to have it streamed where it's only going to download if you use it when you use it, and if it's not already in the cache, or to permanently install it. So this is basically the solution we propose. If you don't want to do cloud streaming, permanent install your plane, permanent install the airports you usually fly to, use a big rolling cache to cache the world, and you will reduce cloud streaming quite a bit. Down to zero, 3 petabytes, that's just not possible to install. And so to completely remove it, that's not possible. Also, there's stuff like live weather. There's actually, I looked at the amount of data people stream. So it's about 5 to 6 gigabytes per hour. There's actually a fair chunk in there, which is not even world or plane or anything. Which is just weather, multiplayer, career, all sorts of services. It's maybe somewhere between 5 and 10%, especially once once the rolling cache is full and you reuse the same plane or area. Actually, the world and streaming is quite low, and most of the stuff is then weather and stuff like that.
But I still see it in the thread, in the chat. I think hopefully you're clear. You will be able to download the planes. You will be able to download the airports.
Yes.
The world stuff, we had that in 2020. That is just how we architected. And frankly, we're not allowed to download the Bing stuff. I saw some people, hey, why don't we allow just download the Bing maps? We can't because we don't really own this data as some other companies. So that's why. But if you want, the system we've built is a system that's more optimal for most people. But then there are people that want to have a lot of things, and you are totally free to do so if you want to. So it should all be fine.
And technically, if you want to download the map, the world data, the Bing data for a Bordeaux-Paris flight, just set a big rolling cache and do a Bordeaux-Paris flight, and it's going to download it and keep it in the cache. So that's technically how you can force the download of something. I've seen people with over 100 gigabyte cache. That's completely gonna hold. If you consume 6 gigabytes per hour, if you set a 100 gigabytes cache, that's 20 hours of flying, right? So and at low altitude, right? At high altitude, the world data is very low. So that's already what it's doing. And yeah, as Jorg said, we can't do something. I mean, it's just the amount of data. If you want to download all France from Bing, that's hundreds of terabytes. So it's just not something which is feasible.
I see something. I'm going to answer some questions, Jayne, if I can.
Sure.
So some people are saying the Bing data is so old. Well, so I would say, we're benefiting greatly from having Bing, because without that, I don't know exactly where we would get this data from at all. Bing updates all the time. Bing, I think they're about to sign another contract with their data provider to update the world again. They're on a 3-year rotation. I think there are some areas that they don't prioritize for whatever their business reasons are, but by and large, Bing updates a lot. And with flights in 2024, we did take the latest Bing data, so that's what Bing has. But I know they're going to keep updating it, and so will we, alongside with them.
Awesome. Thank you, Jorg. Number 3 wishlist item is provide readable airport data for little nav map.
Yes, so the team, the two teams are talking all together. So I do think that little nav map will soon have access to what's needed.
I'm going to say something about the Google thing, because I see it all the time. I mean, it's Google's data. we can't just take Google's data. It's not allowed. So I feel like we're blessed to have Bing because it's free for flights, and we could never afford something like this. So I think we are in a good position. I think Bing is doing a good job. If some people like Google, I don't know what to do about that. It's a different company.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are there any particular wish list items you wish to speak on from our list of
No,
19?
I mean, I think, look, we obviously are. There was a lot of problems with launch, you know this, and that took us 4 or 5 days to just go through this. And the team has since then obviously read all the forums. We read all the feedback, just like we always do, and we will do our best to fix and or address as many topics that are being brought forward. When it says here under investigation, it's really just that the team has literally just started digging through everything, going through the threads, looking for the prioritization. It's just going to take some time.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we are going to go ahead and introduce our special guest here. We have on deck Matt Nishon from Working Title. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I'm sure you have lots of fun, interesting updates for us from Working Title, so I'll go ahead and let you get started on those.
Cool, great. Yeah, so we did a bunch of stuff for 2024. Just kind of wanted to share some of that with you all. And a lot of it was kind of sourced from what we saw in 2020 with, you know, our interactions with the community and what we read on the forums and what we as a part of kind of what we call here the core simulator team, you know, tried to really make this experience good for core simmers as well. So there's a bunch of stuff. So I'll just kind of go through it real quick. You guys have seen the enhanced flight planning solution. We've got that inside the sim, inside the EFB. We also have that on the web for second screen, which I'll do a quick demo of here in a couple slides. We wanted to make it super easy for people to share group flights because we know people are kind of slinging files around and having to email stuff. And we want to make it a little bit easier for people to share that stuff. So we've got that kind of built into the experience. Something that was super important for all of us here was charts. You know, I know we said with 2020 we wanted to get to charts and it just didn't work out for a number of reasons, but it was super important for us to do the kind of charts for all things. So we were able to partner with Lido, who has fantastic data and very wide chart coverage. It's bigger airports for sure, but it's going to be super sustainable for us, and hopefully everyone loves the coverage that we've got. It's really great, and we want to make that available to everybody. We've got some new avionics systems, the Epic 2 Apex, the UNS 1. We did a lot of work under the hood that we haven't really talked about. We'll talk about in a couple slides here about the nav data. And we also worked on standardizing some of the APIs around some of this stuff. So there is already a charts API for JavaScript that we use in the EFB. We've got the route plan syncing API now for JavaScript and WASM. And we're also looking at a charts API for WASM too. So that's under investigation. Just some quick stats about the online flight planner and also downloading the EFB. We've got tens of millions of charts served already, which is really, really cool to see. I think at last count, we were up in the 70 million charts served. We're getting hundreds of thousands of requests on the site and via our backend services, terabytes of charts and map tiles downloaded already. Really, really cool response. And it's been fun to see stuff kind of pop up in streams and have people go, oh, I have this chart. I click this button over here. It's really cool to watch. So yeah. And then I'm going to do a quick demo here of the flight planner. So I don't know, it kind of seems like people, not a lot of people have figured out that we've got this planner that's also the web app version. So I'm just going to go through some fun stuff with it. So it's at planner.flightsimulator.com. And you can do a lot of complex routing things, but it's got all the information. The whole point of this was to give as much information as possible at people's fingertips, you know, when they're doing their flying IFR and VFR. So I'm just going to do a quick route here. So I'll do, let's say, St. Louis, and we'll go to, let's say, Denver. Oh, that's with a K. And to make it easy for folks, we've got programmatic auto routing. These aren't necessarily real world routes, but it will generate a route for you. That's something that you might see. It picks your departure. It picks your arrival, your best approach. And the cool thing that it does is you've got all the charts for this flight now available to you. And they come out of either Lido, or for some of the less covered areas in the US, we've got FAA charts too. Pull those up super easily. They've automatically pulled in because that's part of your route. I can pull up. So we've got the BRAC 5 here. If I want to grab our approach, I can just click that button, zoom in and out. It's super cool. And for smaller airports, I'll just go to my local home here. You can type in at the top, get any NavAid airport, whatever. I'm going to pick this DuPage Airport. I can see the METAR at a glance. So here's your weather. I can see what the best runway is right now for departing and landing. I can look at all the runways. You can see this is not very favorable. This one might be more favorable. And then, as I mentioned, we've got FAA charts for this. This is not a Lido covered, but we've got those. So you can see those there. We also have procedure previews for everything. So here's the procedure previews for DuPage here. You can see the ILS frequencies. So that's easy, right at your fingertips. And then if I want to actually add this approach, I can do that. Just click the plus. I can scroll through each one of these transitions, plop it down. I'm changing my airport, so it's going to change me to a new route. And that's the approach right there. So very cool. And you can do that also from this area if you need to. So all of the route is displayed on this. We've got the color-coded segments to make it easy to determine, especially for those visually impaired. So you can, see magenta is en route and departure is red, and orange is approach, and all that kind of stuff. So you could change it here too if you want. I could switch it to ILS 10 coming out of DPA, and then it'll switch that for you. So it's super easy to do. And then super quick, I've got a route that I grabbed from Radar Box. So I'll start over, and you can actually just paste your route in here if you need to. And that'll parse the route and build it for you. Super easy. And if I want to save that, I can just hit the save button. I'll just name this test route. I can save the plan. And one of the super cool things, so this is one of the things that we really love. What you can do is you can copy the link to this route that you just made, and then you can text it to your friends, Discord, whatever. And if I actually have that link and I pop it here into this other browser window, one click, I can load up that plan, and now everybody can share the plan. Super cool. And then other stuff super quick here. I can look up NavAids. So here's the Northbrook VOR. I can see the frequencies, but we have some VFR stuff for people too. So I can turn on, let's say, topography and railways, and I can start to plan my VFR route. So I can actually do some measurements. I can say measure from here and start to see where my route is going to take me. Then I can bail out of that if I want, see what it is. But the other thing I can do, if I just clear that out, I actually quickly make a route along that, append. Actually, let me start over because I'm going from France. I'll just add that, append, append, append. And now you've got a route started for your VFR routes. I want to follow this river. I want to follow this this railway here. So yeah, a bunch of really cool stuff. We hope people like it. It's not the only things that we're doing with this. Is kind of the base feature set that we're showing you right here. But Jayne, if you want to go on the next slide, we're kind of talking about what else we've done. So we've already done 7 updates on the planner, which is really cool. It's been kind of under the hood, but we're listening to you guys, and we're expanding it. Comprehensive performance planning is coming. Right now, it's just basic trip planning with average speeds and average fuel burns. We've got comprehensive performance planning coming with more calculations. Right now, we're testing the brand new performance config platform that comes with 2024. So we're kind of gathering the feedback from that. We're listening to developers. We're using it ourselves. So that's coming. And then other stuff that we have under investigation is the aircraft position. So it synchronizes directly from the sim. So we would like to do that. We're looking for real world route data sources. And we have a whole bunch of weather. So we'd like to add more weather layers. But some of that data is very big. It just depends on how much the processing is and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And here's the super detailed stuff for the nerds, nav data nerds. One thing that we've heard, and even not nav data nerds, one thing that we've heard is, the biggest thing for add-ons on Xbox that have their own nav data is that it can't be updated very easily, right? And so we wanted to remove sort of the barriers for complex add-ons to be able to use the nav data in the sim. So we added a lot of features for 2024. So we got transition altitudes and levels, got all the speed constraints. We've got RNP specs now for every procedure leg, which is fantastic. I know that there were some developers waiting specifically for that. RNP AR flags, all the categories for the ILS systems. We've got the holding patterns, terminal holding patterns now. You can pull those up in your avionics, all sorts of fun stuff. So we're hoping that as we go here, we're removing the barriers for developers to be able to use the APIs that are available as opposed to having to ship external nav data and make it so that it sort of evolves with the sim. Somebody buys an Xbox plane and it uses this API and they get, they kind of get all this stuff with every update. So we've also totally overhauled the nav data pipeline. The JavaScript API now does everything that the WASM API does. It's got more details for ILS and DME TACAN. We added some other runway stuff that wasn't there, overrun blast pads, minimum altitudes for airways. Those were missing, and some other stuff. And we're looking at, I know a couple of people asked us about GLS. We actually did look at GLS, and we had an implementation of GLS going early. But the problem is the data is not yet complete at the state level. With the GLS system, the aircraft gets all the data from the ground station, so it doesn't really need to be in the AirInc data file. So it's not, and we're not the only simulator company who's talked about this. So there's the states are starting to produce this data, and hopefully in the next months to year we'll have some of that, and then helicopter procedures too. So, all right, moving quickly, we did the Epic 2 Apex. It's super deep. It's in 3 planes. We've got a lot of flight planning features on it. Some of the stuff that's a little bit more tweaky, like the textual planning interface. We've got the GUI for holds radial intercepts, DME hold, the different flight director options, both of the HSI styles, so developers can pick that, synthetic vision. And for developers, you can choose TSC or the MFD controller, all the configuration options, and we've got plugin support, like all of our other stuff, and plugins for all the different types of displays. So MFD, PFD, TSC, all that kind of stuff. Just a couple screenshots. You guys have seen this, but just wanted to show them off. We've got some airway stuff on the left here. We've got the point bearing distance radial based flight plan additions right there on the right. And then we've got our PFD on the left. And then we've got the lower MFD plus some TSC on the right-hand side. And as I mentioned, you can set up your plane to be, as a developer, TSC or MFD-based. And then the UNS-1, so that's more of a contained kind of computer system. It doesn't have displays. It just has the FMC. We've got some cool stuff in there. We've got the heading mode, PVOR. We've got all the little tweaks that are kind of weird. The UNS is a weird unit, right? So we have that stuff implemented. Most of the normal op stuff, holding patterns, direct to airways, all that kind of thing. But we also have the performance predictions that it does. We have the weird positioning modes that it has too. That are very specific to it. And we do some simulation of position and accuracy. So IRS drift, we had some folks asking about that. And a bunch of the CDU interactions, the cursor, we did, the fonts and graphics and all that kind of stuff. So I think we have a couple of screenshots of that too. Oh yeah, for developers for the UNS. That's ready to integrate. We've got it on the MSFS avionics framework site already, the GitHub. We've got documentation. So that's built on the avionics framework. You can hook up to the event bus and power your FS screens. We've got the panel XML integration, and we've got support for all kinds of different sensors inside the panel XML that can hook up to the UNS. Here we go, screenshots. So it's a little bit hard for me to see, but I think we've got arrival selection on the left. We've got kind of the init screen on the right. It's a pretty unit. It's older tech, but it's cool to look at. And then we've got the hold screen, which is kind of unique to the UNS. So yeah, we had a lot of fun building that one. And then just finally, for developers, is kind of a roundup. Again, we got new APIs. We're standardizing route sync in the sim. We wanted to make it so that everybody could have route sync API. We don't have to have specific implementations for every provider of synchronizing flight plan routes. We've got the charts API for JS, so people can start using that today already. We've got our new version of the avionics framework. We released that. We've got the documentation. And just wanted to mention the opt-in compatible avionics for 2024. We're calling them V2. So if you have a 2020 airplane, it doesn't automatically get the 2024 features, but developers, if you want to opt into those features, you can upgrade to the 2024 avionics, and most of those upgrades are fairly simple. Some of those are even just changing the panel config to point to the new ones, and you might be ready to go. And again, new documentation. You guys have seen those links, but just wanted to provide them again. Yeah. It's been a blast to work on. Obviously, we've all been super busy, and we'll continue to be super busy. And it's gonna be a fun 2025.
Thanks, Matt. Especially thanks for that demo of the flight planner tool, the web tool, in case anyone didn't know about that yet. Just a couple comments and questions here.
Yeah.
Matt, if you make a flight plan in the web tool, does that mean, can it be shared with Xbox players? Do you know if that's possible?
It can. So in the InSim EFB, there's a button on the planner app, the route page. It's the very top button. It says, I think it just says load flight plan or load from web. I forget. And that will pull up a screen that will have the flight plans that you saved on the web version. So if you save a plan on the web version and then you give people the link, they can save that plan to their own profile, and then they can also just click on that button and download the plan into the EFB. So super easy.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And it's just a comment for us. They said, I'd love to see this flight planner leveraged more in career mode. Having to plan your routes in career would be very immersive. So thanks for that comment.
Yeah, definitely something that we've talked about. We know that that there's more opportunities for us to leverage, especially in sim EFB when it comes to this. So definitely avenues that we're discussing, here and internally and with Asobo, and we definitely hope to expand some of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, Matt, for joining us today. We appreciate all the work that Working Title does, and Chad is appreciative as well. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Now we're gonna look at MSFS 2025 Sustain. Jorg.
Yeah, so I was really struggling if I should even put this here, but let's go through it, because I think the launch was awful. We know this, and we talked about a bunch of the open issues that we have, but 2025 is coming, and we have lots of cool stuff. So the first thing I saw a bunch of times in the thread, what update Brazil? So we intended to launch it, I think today, actually, either yesterday or today. And due to everything that's going on and some other things, we decided to move it to either January or February. We haven't quite locked the date yet. The good news is, there is a piece of good news, and you can just scroll through this. I left it from last time. We've looked at this before, and so we have some cool 10 cities. We made 7 airports. It's not just Brazil, right? It's Guyana and French Guyana and Suriname as well. So I think it's going to be a really nice update. The really cool news is that, for me anyways, is that we tried for years and years and years to sign an agreement with Embraer, and we finally did. And that's just the greatest news, because they have a bunch of cool planes that we really want to make. So we're planning on doing something with them for the Brazil update. So it's going to take a little bit of coordination. That's why that, and because of honestly the launch issues, we've moved it. The other thing I want to show you is this is the plan for 2025. I know. I read the thread the entire time, and yes, we have bugs to fix. There's no question about it. But there will also be the things we promised we would do, which is we're going to do 4 world updates, 3 city updates. We're going to have a whole bunch of local legends and famous flyers. As I said earlier, we're planning tentatively to do a large sim update, a significant sim update once a quarter. And then we have 2 surprises. Can't wait to share those. It's going to be some fun next year. And then the next slide. And I just want you, hopefully you've felt it today. And the reason why I'm smiling less is because I'm sad because the launch didn't go as well as it should have done, and that's on us, frankly. But so I all we can do is apologize and work hard, and then make up something. And so the makeup, we will make the next 4 planes we had planned free. The first one is the Cessna 185F from Coronado. It's almost done. Then this one we've already announced is the Palestina that comes out with the What Update Brazil. And there will be 2 more. I honestly don't exactly know which 2 more we will do, which is why I didn't put the slides here. But as a makeup, as an apology, as 4 planes will go into the base sim for everyone. Hopefully it makes it a little bit better. In the meantime, my perspective is, do we have too many bugs? Yes. Was the launch strange and really frustrating? Yes, for all of us. And it's on us, as I said. But we do have a great platform here. We have great teams. The Asobo team is doing awesome work. The working title team is doing awesome work. I had a blast working with all the partners that made aircraft. Lots of them are really good, and we'll continue to do so. And again, all we can say is we're sorry about the launch. We will be better, and we will fix this and make it the great sim platform that it really can be and will be.
Thank you so much, Jorg. Seb, do you have anything to add before we end the stream?
Thank you for all the feedback. Very, I was happy and surprised to see the wish list and bug lists to come together so quickly, and we're trying to work hard to get them resolved as quickly as possible. A few of them are already in progress, and we'll continue to do so. Like we did on 2020, listen to feedback and bugs and wish list. Thank you for the feedback. I read through quite a few of the forum posts. Very, very helpful stuff, and a lot of people are. We can see that a lot of people take a lot of time to really document things very seriously, and that's really amazing. Thank you a lot for that. Really helpful. Makes our resolving issues much faster. And just thank you for everybody. Thank you for the patience of those who've been waiting on the loading screen. And as Jorg said, we will make it better.
Thanks so much, Seb. Marcel, anything to add?
You're muted.
Yes, that was a tribute to you, Jorg. No, I would also thank the team, because they have spent some harder days these last days, and we are listening. We are listening to you. We are listening to what happened. And we want to the full team is dedicated to do what we did on 2020 and turn that team into one of your favorite, if not the favorite one. That's all. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, you 3, for joining me today. And chat, thank you for your patience with us, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon. Happy holidays to you all. We will continue to, of course, be there on the forums, Discord, and socials throughout the season, and logging bugs and tracking things in our forums. Please take care, and again, have happy holidays. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.